webinar series. Thanks for joining us this morning. For those of you who are new to the series, this is a chance for our staff to share some information on new features, best practices, and other information that we'd like to share with our customers. For our customers, it's a chance to ask questions, get a training, and find out what's new with FormFast products that they use. This month, we heard from Brad King, who discussed some best practices and new features in Printer. And in today's session, we'll be joined by Nikki Winkleman, who will show ways you can do more with Form Designer. But before we turn to Nikki, there are just a few housekeeping items to review. The audio from this event will be broadcast through your computer speakers. If you're having problems hearing the audio, just send me a chat or a question via the chat window on the right side of your screen. So note that once you join the teleconference, once we approve you to join that, make sure that your computer speakers are muted, otherwise you might hear an echo. For you to ask questions, especially around Form Designer today, as that's the theme. So please submit questions in the Q&A section or the chat window throughout the event. We will have the Q&A section at the end of the session, but we'll collect those throughout the event. And have ideas for future user webinars. If there's a particular product you want to find out more about, or if there's a certain subject, feel free to send suggestions to me at avaught@formfast.com. Once again, A, V as in Victor, AUGHT @formfast.com. Today's speaker, Nikki Winkleman, is a design consultant and a member of our form design team. In addition to creating or converting forms for clients here at our corporate office, she also teaches customers to use the Form Designer software via on-site trainings. So Nikki, at this point, I'd like to turn the presentation over to you.
Doing with Form Designer and design fast forms today. Just want to show you some basics. Before we get into it, we really want to talk about the high performance hospital. Most get stage 1, which is paper heavy, and heading towards stage 2, which is paper light. For everyone, usually is stage 3, which is paper free. But you can use FastFlow at any of these stages to enhance what you're already using. Using Form Designer as FastFlow is that you're going to save money. Traditionally, paper-based processes, make them digital. View and control everything and how it works, and eliminate manual inter-office mail, and eliminate paper completely. On this paper, you're going to gain some benefits. Your benefits from this, these are just a few, but it's going to eliminate errors and omissions, eliminate the need for inventory because you're no longer going to need to print, and obsolete documents. So all forms that are hidden in drawers somewhere on those in the hospital floors, those are all going to be obsolete and no longer needed. Accurate and legible documents, and this will bridge and enhance existing systems that you currently are using. So again, to prevent delays, this is immediately available signed documents. You're going to make paper, serverless consent processes, physical storage. All this is electronic and will be electronically stored, so you'll be able to access it that way, and you will no longer need all this storage space in the hospital or your facility. Scanning and indexing, because it's going to directly index into the archive. So we're going to create digital forms, and that's going to achieve this goal. For digital forms, you're going to be using the Form Designer tool, which is a FormFast product. Form Designer uses the OCR software, which is optical character recognition, to bring and make them completely editable. We have methods, and the first is to create from scratch. This is a scanner. Any Twain compliant multi-page size minimum 300 dpi scanner will work. It can be in color as well. This is FastFlow. You don't need to worry about printing. Files, so any TIFF or PCX file, and you can use files. So your Word document, PDF, ISD, Excels, and many more. These can be brought in using our Print to Form Design printer, and it's really easy to use. Once you Form Designer, you're going to save them as an OFM, just as you would as your fast print document. This is a form. It's a rigid document that is now editable text and is ready for cleanup. To create and use in Form Designer, that you're going to have enhanced security. The only people that can open your OFM are people that have the form design software. It's going to make edits to your form that you're not aware of. Once you've created them and you're happy with the end result, you're going to create a PDF. And because this is accessible to anyone to be filled out as long as they are part of your workflow. With your PDF, you're going to create a digital workflow. This will run one on the internet. So, form, we begin with the design of the form. To know your needs before you can actually create the form. So we learned about what will the form be used for, what content needs to be on the form. Is this for the entire hospital or is it departmental? Is there a version already? Does it exist, and how can I improve it? You can whiteboard, and it'll get you started. You can erase things and move things, and make sure anyone that needs to be involved in the workflow and also has a place for a signature on this form. You need to think how the form is going to function. What's its purpose? Do I need a specific font type or size? Do I want a certain color palette? Are there requirements? So I have an example on the left. It will grow as we get through this slideshow. I've added some enhancements as we move through it. So using Form Designer is that it's easily to store graphics. You can easily store graphics in Form Designer in what we call our Designer Toolkit. Designer Toolkit will hold any graphic or object that you've put on Form Design in the OFM and other OFMs. It you to lose those graphics again. So it packages it with the form, which is important, and those are easily accessible to you. We have available that are easy to use. You can use tool, line, basic objects, graphic tool, of course fill text, which is available here as well for you to see. It's the with the 8 handles around it. And tables, it's easily accessible, and it's usually on the left side of your screen. At the design, we also have other tools available that are quick key references. New, open, save. There's also tools available to you, calculation tools, text tools, things like that. And I'll get in depth on the calculations things on the presentation. And you're designing your form. You're naming each field uniquely. And this is different from our fast print because we're leaving the fill in. That's our fill text area. That's where the documentation will happen from the person that's filling in the form in the PDF. So in this example, you'll see there are green blocks with white information in them. And those fields that have been named. They all have a specific name and using special characters or spaces. The more you put in the beginning will enhance your form. More detail equals dynamic workflows. In our process, we're going to see each fill text. The first thing in your fill text, of course, is naming it. If you have it named, you can actually set up requirements for these fields. So here's examples. In the first example, the type as name, and then set to general. So later, actually set up rules in this fill text to tell people that this needs to be a name and that fill text area will accept. This also helps me when I'm adding it into the database, what still needs to be by certain information and what that information is. The second example here is type that's a date. You'll notice the format that I have several different options here. This is going to help me to get the information I need in the correct format that I want. So what it does is allow the person filling out the form to know exactly what you need and only fill out the information in the format that you need. These rules and formats within our fill text will legally binding documents. We date and timestamp signatures within the workflow, so that we're leaving enough space in our signature lines, and that we do the signature for everyone in that workflow that needs to sign off on it. Preparing for our database, this is filling. We have a few here that will enhance our form and bring it out of a paper form into a FastFlow document. We can enable autofill, and I have some examples later on. But we can also decide to be filled or if it can be tab stopped. So what this means that if I have an autofill set up, that means it's going to automatically, and the person filling out the form doesn't necessarily have to fill in that space. That can be filled and tab stopped. Autofill wizard, we have several options, and it takes us step by step as to what we need to do and ask us questions exactly where we're moving towards. It allows you to set up fields and filling. So it asks you what you want to do. In this example, I'm going to create or edit the autofill of the current field. The type of the autofill, so I'm going to choose a list of choices. You can enter fields automatically with this fill. You can choose choices and automatically fill other fields, or you can replace the data entered into this field with new data. Menus allow you to use a pull-down menu that has several entries. There's no need to retype these. You can simply save them as a text file in your notepad, and this is an example here. That text file can be added to a folder that's part of the form design software in your programs list on your computer, and then it can be easily accessed through the autofill wizard. You can also update any information within the autofill wizard, but you don't have to. You would just choose the saved autofill list, and it would automatically add it as a drop-down menu. The wizard is also nice because you can save menus that you know you're going to be using often, so you can close up easily, and they become part of the program. So they're there. Apps will also make it efficient and give you the choices that you need for the customer that's filling this out. It gives them easy access, and it gives them a choice of answers so they don't have to come up with them themselves. As you create these drop-down menus, clean and clear appearance, and it also allows you to think outside of the paper. Forms as paper, you would normally think of these drop-down menus as checkbox choices. Checkbox choices. Sorry, that was a mouthful. Actually eliminate space in your form. So when you as pull-down menus, it makes it much cleaner, makes it concise, and it also gives them the options that you are looking for them to answer with. So outside the paper when you're building FastFlow documents. And then FastFlow documents, if you and then realize, well, I could change that to make it better to work with FastFlow. That's part of the learning process, and the more you do that, the more you learn about it, and the more dynamic your forms will be. Our step within the fill text definition is validation. Choices here. You can choose to be filled in, which means that the field is going to be required. They will not submit the PDF in the workflow unless they fill in that particular field. A red box around it in the PDF, so people know that that's required, and it has that specific field, so they always fill it in. You can also must match field type. So this goes to the properties panel when we said if it's a date, it must be month, year, and it would match that. It'll give a warning when they submit it and change it. There is to give the message to tell them how to format it, so you can turn that on as well. Now, Autofill List is our other option, and this is talking about they must choose from that list you've created, rather than typing in what they want. Certainly keep in mind, we do even allow users to override validation, so if they need to type something else in, they could. I recommend you turn this off. You've gone until that work to create the autofill list and then tell it that it must be in the autofill list. There's really no reason for it to be turned on. We can actually change the font to the style we want, and any font that's in our font list is available in the Form Designer. So if you want loaded into your computer, available to Form Designer, once you've loaded it, it will show up in the Form font list. We can also change the font style, and we can also orientation within the fill text if we need it centered or left justified, or even sits within the text box. We could do that. You'll see the sample version of the text here, so I can see what it's going to look like. We can fix in the Form Designer, just like we would with Fast Print. To the Fast is that they can be in color. You can easily insert JPEG, bitmap, PCX, or TIFF, and it will directly store or copy with the form, as long as you have that option checked. We can scale proportionally or maintain original size, depending on needs that are to fit within the form. You can add color here, which is a nice enhancement. To be user-friendly means that we can use a tab order, and this helps the person that's filling in the form go in order that you expect them to go in. This doesn't skip any of the information that you've requested them to fill in, and it also just jumps to the next field once they tab over. We displayed the tab order in this form. The boxes with the white ring show the tab order. In Form, we'll also show a panel on the left side so that you can see the order as needed. There's another option, or you can do this manually. It's really your choice. Auto usually works pretty well, but if you have a different you want the form to flow, you can always manipulate it yourself. When you're designing the form, keep in mind that you can add color. So not just in your graphics, but also in your design. Example here of just a regular address box. I've added a white text, gives it a top, and then a gray where the text will go. This will off the form a little bit if everything else around it is white, or it just enhances the form and makes it look a lighter. You can have line weight within Form Designer, which is nice. You can choose any color as long as it's RGB. You can type in the code for RGB, even if you have, you can just randomly choose a color you like. Style. Several different versions of dotted lines as well as solid lines. We have this one's solid line because it is a dotted line, but there are different line weights. In this one, we need emphasis on things. We shadow on our objects, which will pull off the page a little and give it a little more emphasis. This is boxes, but you can also use it with all your other objects. Just the offset and the location, and you can choose lower right, left, upper right, upper left, rounded corners to rectangles and check boxes. Again, gives it just a little more emphasis. About fast flow, we want it as easily and painless as possible. I have a example here that has several calculations, 6 forms, and easily make it a form that you can fill out and feel that confident that it's correct. So what is the payment method? I have staff change here, and this is part of the pull-down menu. So there are options here, and each option is assigned a number. That number is a cost based on payment method. So this will be added into the payment based on how they plan to pay. That staff change assigned to $5. So when it autofills autofills the field here, $5. It uses a payment method fee down here and autofills with $5 to my total charge. Second option is the payment method. This is the menu. I have 7 different businesses or methods available, and I've chosen UPS in this example. You can find a cost, and under package 1, I have $1. So it's autofilling based on how much I told it the fee would be for the payment method. Insurance field, which gives on menu a list of different numbers on how much insurance I can include. This says list the total coverage you desire only if over $100. The first $100 of coverage is automatic and free. Proof is required for insurance claims. It's going to autofill into my insurance fees down here as well. I'm going to subtract $100 because that first $100 is free. So all the calculation below that creates a charge, it's the sum field. Total charge amount. And it does the math for me, so I don't have to worry about errors in my calculation. The way to do calculations is via multiple pages. And that sets FastFlow apart from our fast print option because you can have multiple page OFMs. And you're expected to if you're going to create PDF. It's important making FastFlow forms if you want a multiple page document that it's audited in one file in the OFM. This is important for formatting later when we create the PDF. In this example, I have another autofill. Up here on my arrow, I have the date, and it fills with the current date, or date that I filled out the form. Calculation of just this date. Automatically pulls it from the computer and fills in the date. On 2, I hate it as well, but this is autofilled based on page 1's date. So it will, as long as I set up the autofill calculation throughout the entire form, regardless of how many pages I have. Custom submit buttons is a new feature within 5.2, and this is a great enhancement that we've added. I have some examples here, and you can get submissions to be unique and add the form. Add pop or importance to the submission button. Any size, location, or color can be used, and you can do anything you want to. This is basic formatting when you're naming the file or naming the field. Go up in your PDF. This is just a fill text, and you just have whatever you need it to say. These are just some options. Form design form, you can then save as a FastFlow PDF. And remember, this is great easy access for all the users because it works with the free Adobe Acrobat Reader. All you do is in your go to Save as FastFlow PDF. I'd like to save it, and then it's save off as a PDF. This is a PDF, and it's ready to build the workflow. Added the generic submit and reset button at the bottom so they can see what they look like. I personally prefer the new enhancement of creating the submit button and in the location I prefer. The submit button will always be located at the bottom if you use the generic setup. So, a PDF ready for workflow. Are there questions I can answer?
Thanks, Nikki. I'd like to open up to questions this time. And as we're waiting for questions to come in, I'm actually going to give you just to present to us about some events we have coming up. You can sign up for future sessions of our webinar series at formfast.com/userwebinar. If you're looking for, we also have another webinar series, our educational webinar series, which focuses on healthcare trends and information about how we can help you improve processes, more high-level focused webinars. Coming up in the end of August is entitled The High Performance Hospital, and you can register for that at formfast.com/webinars. We have a few questions that have come in. First question, Emma would like to know, how would you type the color of the text?
I'm going to go back to my slide.
The ball back to you there.
Okay. Preparing for data, you can actually go into the format font and you can set the text to a color. There's an incident right now for your fill text to have color, but currently it doesn't pass over to the PDF. It's just a communication thing right now that Acrobat doesn't support. But we look forward to that being an enhancement we can add in. Your fill text can be black, but all fields, all regular text could be in any color you want to. And again, you just go to Format Font and you would choose the color here.
Can Autofill integrate with a USPS data source to fill in the city and state based on the zip code?
Part of the workflow, so that's something with the data streams, and I'm not the best person to answer that, but we can certainly get an answer for you and send it back to you privately.
Question, can you add barcodes to fast flow forms?
Yes, you can. It's just a simple text field, so you would just use a regular text box, type in the box that you need. You would need the font for that particular barcode. We do ID automation barcodes here at FormFast. That's something that you're looking into. We can do a demonstration on how you could do that with you personally. Just call tech support and ask for a designer, and we can work with you on it.
Limits on the number of pages you can have?
Not the keep in mind, though, if you're going to use multiple page documents, you want to make sure you're very detailed and you don't include the reset button. If you include the reset button and they get all the way to the end and they accidentally hit it, all that information on every page.
Looks like I'm in here. Mary would like to know, can you pull data from fields in other systems to check into a form? That might be a similar question for one of our workflow engineers, but can you speak to that, Nikki?
You can calculate based off of a database. For example, in-house workflow pulls from our employee list that's in our database, so it will autofill our name based on who's currently logged into FastFlow. It has their own unique login, so it knows who's logged in at that time and set that up to come from your database, then it will fill the name. If you want information on that, we can get a tech to give you information that's more in depth to your question.
Okay, final question, unless there's any that come in at the last second. Joseph would like to know, is there a location where they can download barcode fonts?
No, we have licenses that we've purchased. Since it is, you would have to purchase the license for you to be able to use the barcode font. But I have some available online that are free as well.
That's all the questions we have. Thanks to Nikki Winkleman for a great presentation and for everyone for joining us today. Future sessions of this webinar series can be signed up registered for at formfast.com/userwebinar. As we have our educational webinar series that we invite you to join us for. You can register that at formfast.com/webinars. If you'd like more information about any of our FormFast solutions, you can request demonstrations or further training at formfast.com/contact. Everyone who taking the time to join us, and we will see you at the next FormFast user webinar in September.